Mr. Chairman, can we pivot for a second and go to the Ukraine scheme, which ultimately got Donald Trump impeached? Former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi, who served on Donald Trump's defense team in his impeachment trial, tried to run with the debunked conspiracy about Joe Biden and Ukraine on Wednesday. Let's listen to her for a moment.
That very same company was being investigated by a Ukrainian prosecutor. Joe Biden, the Vice President of the United States, threatened to withhold aid to Ukraine unless that same prosecutor was fired. And then he was fired.
Other than Pam Bondi, though, there wasn't a word about it. Even Rudy Giuliani, who was at the center of the scheme, did not say a word about Ukraine. What do you make of that?
Well, they obviously don't think, at least in terms of convention, that it's a very winning argument to make. Nonetheless, they did trot out this one speaker who has quite a rather blemished record of her own, accepting $25,000 in a campaign contribution from the Trump Foundation, a charitable organization that's not supposed to make campaign contributions. And then a short time later, she decides not to join the lawsuit against Trump University. So I guess you got to go to someone like that to make this kind of dishonest argument. But I think that the bigger reason why you didn't see them talk much about this is they didn't want to remind people that the president of the United States was impeached, one of just three in history to go to trial in the Senate for abusing his power. It was, as the president I think acknowledged, one of the worst days of his presidency, and rightly so. But I also think that in terms of the Democratic Party, our view is as serious as that Ukraine misconduct of the president's is and was. 180,000 Americans are now dead. That is really the issue, the incompetence, the malignant narcissism of the presidents that resulted in those deaths. The lack of character and decency that we proved during the trial, I think, left a lasting impression on the American people. But the pressing need to address the pandemic and the economic crisis that it has brought about for Democrats is what we really need to be talking about. And for the Republicans, what they don't want to talk about, but they also realize in terms of the president's impeachable conduct, that's not much of a winner for them either.
So even though he wasn't removed from office, the Senate acquitted him. Is the dividend here that we aren't hearing about Joe Biden and Ukraine day in and day out? We're not hearing at least that piece of disinformation from this campaign.
Well, they may feel, look, they've got Republican senators who are willing to push that disinformation, that bit of Russian propaganda, so they don't need to do it during the convention when they have the president's enablers doing it for them on a weekly basis in Congress. But I really think that probably, I don't know that I would describe it as a dividend, but the lasting impact of the impeachment was to really cement an impression and understanding with the American people that this president doesn't know right from wrong, is fundamentally indecent, cannot tell the truth, and for that reason is a danger to the country because he's not motivated by what's best for the country, only what's best for him. And sadly, we got to see that played out with this pandemic, where the decisions on testing, on tracing, what that display of non-mask wearing at the convention itself are just a ultimate tragic proof of what we showed during the trial, his fundamental unfitness for office.